Hello, good evening. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Living Paranormally with me, your hostess, Paranormal Pixie Lara. I'm so glad you could all join me tonight. It's, you can feel that autumn is just nipping at our heels, saying, I'm just around the corner. Um, we're actually very lucky right now. The temperatures over the next few days are supposed to be a little bit cooler. Um, you're starting to see that the last of the sunflower blooms here are starting to fade a little bit. So, you know, and it won't be very long before we have groves of aspen trees up on the mountainside that um, the aspen leaves will begin to slowly turn that beautiful golden color. Um, yeah, so I'm just glad to have you all here. Glad to be here myself. Wanted to welcome everyone in with love and light. It's been a bit of a rough week, as far as my energy goes, and it's the energy of everything around us. Um, a bit topsy turvy, kind of, you're up one minute, down the next. A lot of that has to do with the time of year and changing of seasons, um, and just what's going on with the world around us, planet, um, astrological alignment, the moon. We had beautiful, beautiful full moon, super blue moon over the weekend. I hope that all of you got to enjoy that. My life has been filled with the joys of having a new kitten in the house. And hopefully, as he gets a little older and a little more relaxed, right now he's in kitten phase. So run, run, play, play, crash, and he'll sleep for hours. Um, Hopefully, I'll get to bring him on camera and introduce him to everybody. He's such a sweetheart. And I find it kind of funny. And before I get started with everything else, I had actually just gotten the news not long before, and started dealing with my father's passing at the end of May. And I'd gone outside and following my mentor's teaching, um, and just kind of feeling totally lost. Um, Asked my guides and my guardians to help me to be able to cope with all of this. And I've even posted on my social media that the call that we got and winding up rescuing Biscuit, I didn't really see it at the time, but I've become to understand that that process of rescuing the kitten, um, nurturing him, changing my focus, and the un what's the right word? Unrestricted love and how much my heart needed that to have a living being, you know, laying on my chest, purring, and for the first time in a very long time, having a cat that would look me in the eyes and not out of fear, not out of want, but just stare deeply into my eyes like, I know you. I know who you are. I remember you. The best way to describe that kind of a connection with any animal is they're your soul's familiar. And that's what a familiar really is. They understand you on a deeper level. They're connected to you on a deeper level. Sometimes, like the boy that my husband had, Orion, um, wonderful orange tabby, who chose us, um, chose my husband. And as sappy as it was, would crawl up on his lap and stare at him. I love you, Daddy. It was the most ridiculous thing you'd ever seen in your life. I mean, and he was big. I mean, big, like Romeo's size big. Um, would stare at him with deep affection and absolute, complete trust that you're going to take care of them. There is a word that I only learned just this last spring. You've seen it online, I bet. There's memes about it if you follow anything to do with animals, especially cats. Uh, it's the Hawaiian word kahu, K-A-H-U. And instead of like here where we call ourselves, pet parents, pet owners, it means something so much deeper that we are the guardian and caregiver for something extremely precious. And so I like to see myself that way as Kahu to these wonderful fur babies. Um, their their guardian, their caregiver, their family, their protector, um, their long trusted companion. Because the unconditional love that they give, um, there's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it. So, with that, I'm going to get things started, and the table may shake a little bit. My husband is needing to get to our pantry. This evening, once he steps out of the room, I'm going to clear my area, clear my tools with my. I pulled out the Palo Santo. I thought we needed something, no, excuse me, a little soft. Um, we don't need, I'm not feeling there's a great need for protection like armament, but protection and holding space, that calm, gentle, almost motherly um, clearing. So, and I apologize if I seem a little disconnected. A lot of that is the energies, everything I'm feeling, everything we're all feeling with what we're going through right now. So I've got my Palo Santo and I've got my little smudge pot. So I'm going to light this and get it going. Always remember, be safe, be careful with your fire, with your tools, if you're doing any clearing. See there, now it's wanting to go. I'll let that burn for a moment, get and going good. Send some of that protective smoke out to all of you. Some to me, all the way down to my feet, right behind me. Smoke there, over our tools. A little bit more for all of you. There we go. Set that in my smudge pot. And I pulled up my candle. And I think what I want to dedicate tonight's candle lighting to is balance. Helping all of us find that balance morning to night, in sleep, in wake, in family, in choices. Um, Finding that balance that we need to kind of help us through our day. And I've got my rose and oud, passionate and woodsy, is what it says. But if only there was smell-o-vision. It smells delicious. So, out of love and light, I ask our guides, our guardians, all of those that watch over us, protect us, guide us, to help us find balance in all the ways, shapes, and forms that are needed right now. There's a lot of tension going on in our world, in our planet, in the people, and nature. So may this flame help us find balance that we need. Thank you. So I brought out some of the stone cards for us this evening. The ones that I was called to were pyrite, and I've got a beautiful brand new piece of pyrite. There we go, get it to focus. This particular piece of pyrite actually comes from a friend of mine. She's also a student through Professor Caracas, Athena, um, now formerly at Sage Goddess. And Tina, she actually has become where I've gotten a lot of my crystals from. And this is not a paid sponsorship or anything like that. She's a friend. She's a star sister, if you will. Uh, you know, fellow graduate from Sage Goddess. And if you are trying to find crystals to work with, again, that are ethically sourced, you can get in touch with me and I can give you her information. She actually does live sales, which is kind of fun. Pyrite. Pyrite is a glittering stone of possibility and potential. It reminds you of your self-worth and encourages you to shine in your power. Pyrite activates the solar plexus chakra, symbolizing action, vitality, and willpower. It enlivens your self-image and connects you to the warmth of the sun. And its affirmation is, I will shine in all areas of my life. And so that actually kind of fits with the theme of balance. So there's your card. Then the next card that I pulled was hematite. I love hematite. It's such a fascinating, a stone that's a metal, but it's not a metal. Um, it can be magnetic. I actually have a very cool, we call it my lodestone. This is red. I can get the light properly. Uh, red tiger's eye with bands of hematite that run through it, and it's magnetic. Um, yes, here's my vape that I can actually put it on there and it will stick. So hematite, and I've got a piece here. Hematite activates the root chakra and is the most grounding stone on the planet. Depends on your opinion, but it is an extremely grounding stone. It is a potent binder of cosmic energy that helps contain unwanted forces and blocks energetic and psychic attacks. This, this stone roots you deeply to the earth's stability and balances the body, stabilizing your equilibrium and helping both ethereal and physical systems remain aligned. So, again, another good one for balance for all of us. And then this last one to me is such an amazing crystal. Um, it's one that everyone's familiar with. And it's in some ways overrated and in many ways undervalued. And that is clear quartz. And this is actually one of my pieces that I got from Tina. This is clear quartz from Brazil. And I love this one. It doesn't do it justice on camera, but it is just full of rainbows. And I don't know about you, I'm a rainbow girl. Rainbows make me smile. They really do brighten up that rainy day. We're actually in a very strategically cool location, and I'll try to get some pictures sometime to share. That right after the rains, if I go out in the street, just outside this window, and look that direction, which would be directly to the east, sometimes there will be not just one rainbow, but two, and sometimes even three full arches of rainbows that you can see from north to south. And it's just beautiful. So, clear quartz. Quartz is the most pervasive crystal in the gem world and has three major properties: amplification, programmability, and magnification. It activates the soul star chakra and can be used to boost energies of other stones. Clear quartz magnifies frequencies of abundance, light, love, or any intention you wish to amplify. So even balance can be amplified by using clear quartz. Um, Let me finish with this card. The affirmation is, I amplify the positive energy around me. And here's its card. You can screenshot that if you wanted to remind you later. I know I've mentioned it briefly. My husband and I actually started in early 80s, 81, um, in a group called the Society for Creative Anachronism. And over the years, you get involved with different clusters of people. You find your tribe, if you will, make friends, and form what's called a household. And so it's basically a group of people that agree that they like camping together, they like hanging out together, they get each other's jokes, they just enjoy each other's company. Well, we had one individual in our household who um, was having to travel for his job. And he was going to be going through some dangerous stuff. We got together to throw a farewell party to this friend. And at that point in time, I was actually, when I first started merchanting, I um, had a friend who made crystal pendants. And so I would take them to the events and I would sell them. And he would give me a portion of whatever I sold, which helped pay for my food and going there and gas money and all of that. So it worked out perfect. But I had bought one of them to give to him before he left on this trip. And this was instinctual. I had never been taught this. And it still amazes me to look back on it. But I had each person in our household, which was 25 or 30 people, take the crystal in their hands and send their positive thoughts into this crystal. Program it for a purpose, for safe travel, for um, happy adventure, for love, um, for a safe return. And each person took the crystal in their hand and held it for a moment and maybe softly whispered, I want him to come home to us safe with many tales of his adventures, or whatever it might be. And afterwards, once the last person had spoken their words, I took the crystal on its chain and I put it over his neck. And I said, let this be a guiding light, protection, and remind you of home and bring you back safe to us. Time went by. He went on his travels. And he actually wound up in an area of swamp-like conditions and wound up falling into a pit of quicksand. And as his body was getting sucked down into the sand, it also caught on the crystal. At one instant, he said the chain broke and the crystal came off and was sucked down into the sand. And at that same moment, he felt like he was able to get purchase and pull himself out. And he believes that that saved his life, that all of those intentions, prayers, spells, whatever you want to call them, manifested into saving his life on that day. And he was able to come home to us and tell us the story. And it goes back to how objects carry energy, whether it's the cell phone that we hold every day or the jewelry we wear. Everything on our planet, in our world, in our universe carries energy. On the science level, it's down to the atomic structure and the positive um, and negatively charged electrons around it. But that energy also affects us, and especially those of us that are more inclined to being empathic, um, those of us that are awakening to our abilities, those of us that feel deeply the emotions of the world around us. And I actually had a conversation with my husband just a couple of days ago where he's trying to learn and understand all of this from his science, nuts and bolts kind of point of view, and trying to be supportive in his own way. Sometimes we struggle with that. Sometimes we don't. But he was traveling um, to go do some shopping and was headed down on the highway and saw some road signs saying construction up ahead, um, but it wasn't clear what was going on. It said, expect to be traffic to be diverted, so on and so on. And so he actually called me up and said, could you look and see if there's anything posted on um, the New Mexico roads about what's going on with um, this area outside of Santa Fe? And I pulled it up, and on the website it said that there it was a crash, basically, and they were diverting from one highway onto a bypass um, to get people into Santa Fe. And we hung up so that he could focus on the traffic. Of course, he was on. Um, we've got the Bluetooth audio in our vehicle. He called me once he got onto the bypass and started to explain to me what he saw. And this is where it got tricky for me. He saw that a truck, massive trailer semi, looked like it had jackknifed, had rolled, things were crushed, and so on. As he's describing the things that he's seeing with my abilities and the fact that I've opened myself up. So basically, I've turned the light switch on and I've left it turned on because I'm learning. I want to understand how to navigate this so that I can help all of you learn to navigate it. The downside is that for me, as someone who is empathic, clairsentient, um, very claircognizant, so I actually see the mental images as almost as if I had witnessed it. Um, that I started getting the clear images in my mind of this accident, and I actually had to stop him um, speaking on the phone and say, "Okay, let's refocus and change our direction of the conversation." And I explained to him what was happening, that it was overpowering me, but by changing the focus of our conversation to, okay, so how's the road now? Okay, the traffic's good. So what are you going to do when you get there? Are you going to go have lunch? And flip the script, if you will, on the conversation. Um, it also changed my internal claircognizant focus to from the accident to him and what he was doing and then of course what he was going to be doing. And not only did that allow me to change that focus, I could tap into him. I could see him, see, okay, yes, he's safe. Um, feel the energy. Okay, he's calmer because I was also focusing on him and where he was going to be going. I could tap in more to what was going to happen next. Was everything going to be okay? Safe drive, all of that. So it's good to practice that, even if you do it on a small scale, with your friends, your family, um, so on. When you're starting to notice that you're sensitive to these things, so that you know how to navigate them, how to redirect. And then, of course, after I got off the phone with him and, yeah, okay, everything's okay. Um, you know, the roads are clear. He's going to have good lunch, so on. I went and I grounded myself outside. I went outside, kicked my shoes off, stood with my feet in the grass, and took a few nice, deep, cleansing breaths and saw myself rooted deeply in the ground and just grounded my energy so that I could kind of wash away anything that I might have pulled by tapping into, you know, what had happened before. So I hope by sharing that a little bit that helps all of you understand how I live paranormally, how I, work with these abilities, how I navigate daily life. Um, some days I do it without a hitch. Other days, not so much. Um, Key to that is, okay, I might fall down, so to speak, but I get back up. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Um, Sometimes overwhelming life circumstances make me feel like I need to go lay down. Maybe I need to cry into my pillow. but that's not where I sit. That's not where I stay. I let it be a release, and I get up and I keep moving. I keep walking forward in my paranormal life. Um, what was it I was wanting to tell you guys about from my experiences? Which one was that? Let me think on it for just a moment. See if I can pull it from the ether. Let me do this. Let me tell you just a little bit about how the first time, to my knowledge, to what I remember. See if I can. So Latro says a sphere is about the most natural shape the quartz crystal can take. Wonder if that creates an internal stress that traps energy or not. Okay. That is a good comment and a good question. Well, we might think that about a sphere. Quartz crystal in its natural form. Hold that thought. I'm actually going to get up out of my chair for a moment because what I want is behind the camera. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. It'll take me just a second. So quartz crystal in its natural form is a point. It will always find its way when given the space to grow like this. Okay. Naturally, 6 sides around this surface, and it will have 6 planes around the top. Very, very rarely you will find one like this that will have almost like a diamond shape, an extra plane at its top. Okay. And that window is in the metaphysical world, sometimes sometimes referred to as a portal, a shaman's portal, with the idea being not that it like can suck things through dimensions or so on, but that it is a portal for you to focus your thought, your meditation upon, and see all of the wisdom and knowledge that this crystal has experienced during its life, its growth. This one being a Lemurian, let me see if I can get it. There we go. Get it where you can see all of those lines, all of those growth lines. That's, you're talking thousands and thousands of years. So, 1,000 years, 1,000 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 1,000 years, 1,000 years. You're talking, that is an ancient object that has seen this planet go through many stages. And just imagining the idea of all of the wisdom that it can hold, uh, it is why in the metaphysical world, ones with Lemurian lines, they tend to be more expensive, one, because it's really hard to find ones that don't have chips and gouges and whatnot, or are cloudy and so on. But thinking that during meditation, almost like if you're familiar with an old style record, vinyl LP, and the grooves that are on it, that each one of those grooves has a little bit of information. A sphere, quartz crystal sphere, and I'll talk to you a little bit about a slightly different way that you'll find quartz. But a quartz crystal sphere, spheres are actually cut. So you might have, maybe a larger one of these that this was cut from. And so, they'll use an actual stone cutter um, with a blade to cut it, and then they'll polish the bottom. But then that larger chunk, they will fracture it off. And there's some great YouTube videos out there of it being done. And then they will begin to polish this with 3 separate cutters that get it smoother and smoother and smoother. And then they'll begin to take sanders to it until it gets super smooth and round. Now, that said, some spheres that you'll find out there on the market are hand cut. I don't have one easily within reach, but you'll notice that it's not quite perfect. It's pretty round, but if you run your hand over the surface, your hand and its sensitivities through touch will actually feel slight waves, imperfections in the shape of that sphere. Um, see, I can reach this. So you will also find quartz in rivulets because as the minerals get deposited that would leave quartz behind that would cause it to grow, sometimes more things come in and those layers will build up and you'll end up with pockets, sometimes volcanic pockets and so on, that'll get filled with all these different minerals and the layers upon layers upon layers. And you'll end up with things like agates. Okay. There's a guy on Instagram that I absolutely love his videos. He goes by Geo Agate Dude, and it's GEO underscore agate underscore dude. Um, and he's got some amazing agates. He actually goes out, hunts them. Some he cuts and he makes into slabs or jewelry. But this, so you can see where in the layers, this is, um, hmm, I just lost the word. So the stone itself is sardonyx. Sardonyx is concentrated and ends up in these beautiful pools and rivulets. And then you'll also see, and I don't know if I can get to it here. Let me see if I can get to it. I've got a really beautiful agate slab I use as a charging plate that, this has bits of pyrite and it's got bits of um, rivulets of quartz in there. the red is iron, and so you can see, it can end up in these fractures and fractal spots. Even like the little, druzy cave there, and then you'll see it in. Sometimes you'll get geodes that the whole inside is just clear quartz. And again, it goes back to the minerals have deposited inside of a small bubble, if you will. And then that outer crust has hardened, but the minerals inside have begun to crystallize and become quartz crystals. And then, if you're lucky, you find them, you break them open, and on the inside, you have your quartz. Um, so, with spheres in the metaphysical world, a sphere, it doesn't trap energy, but the energy flows freely. Okay. So, if, say, for instance, I wanted to focus on idea, a thought, would the idea of a sphere and its round surfaces, in metaphysics, it's considered to radiate energy in all directions. And whether it be just its, you know, metaphysical properties, radiating that energy, your thought, your intention. If you leave it out in the sun, a round, clear quartz sphere, it will absorb heat from the rays that are hitting it. But those solar rays, just like our own energy, are refracted through the quartz and bounced out. And that's actually why you'll see a lot of like metaphysical shops and whatnot online say, don't leave your quartz crystal spheres in your window in sunlight unattended. Because guess what? This right here also acts as a natural lens, and it'll start a fire, just like you would if you were using a magnifying glass. This puppy right here. And because it's a sphere, the sun can be over here, it will bounce in this direction, and next thing you know, your bookcase is on fire. So you have to be very careful with that. But as far as trapping energy, it doesn't actually trap energy. It is like copper. It channels energy back and forth. That's why our cables and wires and all of that in our electronics are made out of copper because it allows energy to flow along it and through it. And that's the way quartz works. And that's scientific, that's metaphysical on, both regards. So I hope that helps kind of give you a little bit deeper understanding as to, how you can work with quartz crystals and how spheres work and all of that. Um, and there's actually a lot of different crystals that if you go back and watch my previous videos, I've gone through quite a few of them that grow in this same form. And with this point form um, in metaphysics and also in science, um, you can focus energy on the base end, the flat end, if you will, and focus out the point. So, say for instance, I were doing a healing session, whether in person or remotely, and I were wanting to send energy to that person. for healing, for balance, right? I act as the telephone. I'm just the messenger. So the energy is not mine. It's the energy of nature, everything around us, Mother Earth, Father Sky. But I would most likely have this hand out or up to draw it, allow that to flow through me. And then if I'm using crystal, I would use it so that that point end is towards the person, sort of directing that energy to them. Or if I'm doing it remotely, I have a cloth that has like the different chakra points. And so I might say, okay, their root chakra is needing healing. And so I would direct that source energy towards their root chakra for healing. Um, Also, you might see people do crystal grids. Grid work is where you take a generator. So it's any, some people say it's any quartz based crystal, um, because, it kind of acts as that battery, that natural, universal battery, for whatever purpose you're doing. Grids are used for healing. Okay, they're used for manifestation, for um, protection. Okay, so you would place, say, a quartz crystal in the center of your grid, and then I might put, um, I might put pieces of pyrite, um, one north, one south, one at the east, one at the west, on this grid for, possibility and potential. Say maybe I am wanting to draw in energy for a new job, right? Or for, um, maybe my sister, which, I don't have a physical sister, I have soul sisters, but maybe I am wanting to draw in the positive energy of, uh, you know, prosperity and abundance for them. They're trying to have a kid, right? So I might set up a grid for them, most likely even gift it to them. But I would put my quartz crystal in the middle, and I might put, um, at the 4 points, I might put a piece of rose quartz all the way around each point. And for love, gentle love, uh, and family, and family love. And then I might put, a little piece of pyrite at each of the directions for, bringing in that abundance, that prosperity, um, for them to, be able to have a child. Um, so, again, there's different ways that you can work with these crystals, depending on the modality and what you feel called to, what feels comfortable. Hello, Miss Tiger. She's been very affectionate lately. Um, so yeah, hopefully that answers your questions and kind of brings some clarity. So, oh, so this particular kitty, her name is Tiger, and so it's like saying, my name is Lara, right? Her name is Tiger. Her official name is Tiger Amelia Herhart, because when we first got her, the shelter had named her Emmy, Emmy. So when I was fostering, she was the first of the batch of 8 foster kittens, 2 different litters, um, that decided she wanted to explore. And she was our big time explorer. Anytime she got the chance, it's like, ooh, can I go? Can I go look? What's this? So we called her Amelia for her heart, Emmy. But she also liked to be called Tiger because I called her my little tiger. They're all with their little stripy baby. I'm a nerd. I like Kung Fu Panda. My little stripy baby. Yes. And so, yes, Tiger, Amelia Earhart, our little explorer. Um, she's the one of our clouder that she's also kind of a spokes kitty, if you will. She has um, FIV, and FIV used to be considered a very contagious um, feline disease that it shortens her life. Basically, it um, attacks your immune system if not properly managed. Um, and so they don't live as long. And they originally thought that it was very easily, like through sneezes and bathing and whatnot, passed on to other cats. Um, as soon as I found out she was FIV positive, having a batch of foster kittens, and B, uh, my own cats in the house, I took the time to educate myself on what is the truth about FIV. FIV is actually um, contagious through bites and through sexual relations. Um, so so long as the cats are all getting along, it's not going to be gotten through sharing a litter box or through mutual bathing. Um, so we spent a year trying to find an appropriate home for her and her bonded FIV negative sister. Um, and after 1 year, and we'd already decided ahead of time, at that anniversary, we said, okay, she's part of our family. Uh, they are now, they just turned 7 years old. Yeah, her and her sister, Ladybug, which I don't know if you've seen her on camera. She's my only solid black kitty. Yeah, she's a sweetheart, tiny little thing. But with that said, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I want to wish you all a wonderful rest of your week and weekend. Um, Balance, love, and light. And I hope that our time together has maybe given you a chance to breathe a little deeper, um, give you a little more understanding of, my paranormal life and living paranormally. Um, yeah, I guess that's it for this week. I love you much. I hope you take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye, everyone.